Hello, everybody. It's Green Beauty ASMR, and I am back today with another reading video. Before I get started, I would like to ask you to please comment below regarding what topics you like for me to read. So, for example, one book that I have read to you is based on spirituality, whatever arises, love that. So, it's talking about that kind of stuff. And then I have also read to you from the book Women Who Run with the Wolves, and I will be reading from that today as well. So, that's a little bit more. Maybe not so pigeonholed in terms of interest and everything. And then also I have some other wonderful books that I would love to share with you guys. I can read about relationships. I can read about other things regarding mental health or anything like that. So I want to know, do you prefer topics that maybe aren't so heavy or so serious? So, like for example, Women Who Run with the Wolves is a little bit more of escapism. So we are talking about mythology, but you can easily just veg out and not really have to listen. So there's that type of story that I can read, or there's spirituality or new age stuff that I can read. So or sorry about that. My cat just jumped out of the closet with a hanger stuck around him, and he freaked out. Anyway, so I can also read about mental health stuff, but that might not be so relaxing. So I am genuinely curious to hear from you what topics you like for me to read. Okay, with that being said, let's get started. So as I mentioned before, we are reading from this today. Women Who Run with the Wolves. Myths and Stories of the Wild Woman Archetype. So I was browsing this again, and I felt called to look at this section. This is chapter 8 on self-preservation, identifying leg traps, cages, and poisoned bait. Okay, so I'm going to skip through, and where was the one I wanted to read to you? Now, it was, here we go. Trap number 8. Dancing out of control, obsession, and addiction. The old woman has made 3 errors in judgment. Though she is supposed to, in the ideal, be the guardian, the guide of the psyche, she is too blind to see the true nature of the shoes she herself paid for. She is unable to see the child becoming enchanted by them, or to see through the character of the man with the red beard waiting near the church. The old man with the red beard gave the soles of the child's shoes a tippity-tap-tap, and this itchy vibration set the child's feet to dancing. She dances now, oh how she dances, except she cannot stop. Both the old woman, who is supposed to act as guardian of the psyche, and the child, who is meant to express the joy of the psyche, are sundered from all instinct and common sense. The child has tried it all. Adapting to the old woman, not adapting, sneaking, being good, losing control and dancing off, regaining herself and trying to be good again. Here her acute starvation of soul and meaning forces her to come once more, grasp for the red shoes, strap them on, and begin her last dance, a dance into the void of unconsciousness. She has normalized a dry, cruel life, thereby setting up more yearning in her shadow for the shoes of madness. The man in the red beard has brought something to life, but it is not the child. It is the torturous shoes. The girl begins to whirl and twirl her life away in a manner that, as with addiction, does not bring bounty, hope, or happiness, but only trauma, fear, and exhaustion. There is no rest for her. As she whirls into a churchyard, there is a spirit of dread. There is a spirit of dread there who will not allow her to enter. The spirit pronounces this curse over her. You shall dance in your red shoes until you become like the wraith, like a ghost, till your skin hangs from your bones, till there is nothing left of you but entrails dancing. You shall dance door to door through all the villages, and you shall strike each door 3 times, and when people peer out, they will see you and fear your fate for themselves. Dance, red shoes, you shall dance. The spirit of dread thereby seals her into an obsession that parallels addiction. The lives of many creative women have followed this pattern. As a teenager, Janis Joplin tried to adapt to the mores of her small town. Then she rebelled a little, climbing the hills at night and singing out from them, hanging out with the artistic types. After her parents were called to school to account for their daughter's behaviors, she began a double life, acting outwardly unassuming but sneaking across the state line to hear jazz music. She went on to college, became quite ill from various substance abuses, reformed, and tried to act normal. Gradually, she began drinking again, putting together a little dirt band, dabbled in drugs, and took on the red shoes in earnest. She danced and danced till she died of a drug overdose at the age of 27. It was not Joplin's music, her singing, or her creative life finally sprung loose that killed her. It was lack of instinct to recognize the traps, to know when enough was enough, to create boundaries around health and welfare, to understand that excesses break small psychic bones, then larger ones, until finally the entire underpinning of psyche collapses and a person becomes a puddle instead of a powerful force. She needed only one wise inner construct that she could hold on to, one shred of instinct that would last until she could begin the time-consuming work of rebuilding inner sense and instinct. She needed only to listen to the wild voice that lives inside all of us, the one that whispers, "Stay here long enough. Stay here long enough to revive your hope, to drop your terminal cool, to give up defensive half-truths, to creep, carve, bash your way through. Stay here long enough to see what is right for you. Stay here long enough to get strong, to try the try that will make it. Stay here long enough to make the finish line. It matters not how long it takes or in what style." Addiction. It is not the joy of life that kills the spirit of the child in the red shoes. It is the lack of it. So that's the story we just read, the red shoes. When a woman is unconscious about her starvation, about the consequences of using death-dealing vehicles and substances, she is dancing. She is dancing. Whether there are such things as negative thinking, poor relationships, abusive situations, drugs, or alcohol, they are like the red shoes, hard to pry a person away from once they've taken hold. In this compensatory addiction to excess, the old dry woman of the psyche plays a major role. She was blind as it is. Now she takes ill. She is immobile, leaving a total void in the psyche. There is no one to talk sense into the excessive psyche now. Eventually, the old woman dies altogether, leaving no safe ground in the psyche at all. And the child dances. At first, her eyes are rolled back in her head in ecstasy. But later, as the shoes dance her to exhaustion, her eyes are rolled back in horror. Within the wild psyche are a woman's fiercest instincts of survival. But unless she practices her inner and outer freedoms regularly, submission, passivity, and time spent in captivity dull her innate gifts of vision, perception, confidence, and so forth, the ones she needs for standing on her own. The instinctual nature tells us when enough is enough. It is prudent and life-preserving. A woman cannot make up for a lifetime of betrayal and wounding through excess of pleasure, rage, or denial. The old woman of the psyche is supposed to call time, is supposed to say when. In this tale, the old woman is kaput, done for. Sometimes it is difficult for us to realize when we are losing our instincts, for it is often an insidious process that does not occur all in one day, but rather over a long period of time. 2, the loss or deadening of instinct is often entirely supported by the surrounding culture, and sometimes even by other women who endure the loss of instinct as a way of achieving belonging in a culture that keeps no nourishing habitat for the natural woman. Addiction begins when a woman loses her handmade and meaningful life and becomes fixated upon retrieving anything that resembles it in any way that she can. In the story, the child tries again and again to reunite with the diabolical red shoes, even though they increasingly cause her to lose control. She has lost her power of discrimination, her ability to sense what the nature of a thing really is. Because of the loss of her original vitality, she is willing to take a deadly substitute. In analytical psychology, we would say she has given the self away. Addiction and ferality are related. Most women have been captured at least for a brief time, and some for intermittently long periods. Some were free only in utero. All those varying amounts of instinct for the duration. For some, the instinct about who is a good person is injured, and the woman is often led astray. For others, ability to react to injustice is slowed down, and they often become reluctant martyrs poisoned to retaliate. For still others, the instinct to flee or to fight is weakened, and they are victimized. The list goes on. Conversely, a woman in her right, wildish mind rejects convention when it is neither nurturing nor sensible. Substance abuse is a very real trap. Drugs and alcohol are very much like an abusive lover who treats you well at first and then beats you up, apologizes, gives you nice treatment for a while, and then beats you up again. The trap is in trying to hang in there for the good while trying to overlook the bad. Wrong. This can never work. Joplin began carrying out the wildest wishes of others also. She began to carry a kind of archetypal presence that others were afraid to carry for themselves. They cheered on her rebelliousness as though she could free them by becoming wild for them. Janice made one more try at conformity before she began a long slide into possession. She joined the ranks of other powerful but hurt women who found themselves acting as flying shamans to the masses. They too became exhausted and fell from the sky. Frances Farmer, Billie Holiday, Anne Sexton, Sylvia Plath, Sarah Teasdale, Judy Garland, Bessie Smith, Edith Piaf, and Frida Kahlo. Sadly, the lives of some of our favorite role models of wild and artistic women ended prematurely and tragically. A feral woman is not strong enough to carry a longed for archetype for everyone else without breaking. Now, I find that very interesting, especially applied to celebrities or famous women and how they are left to carry out our own wishes. Very interesting. A feral woman is in a healing process. We don't ask a recovering person to carry the piano upstairs. A woman who is returning has to have time to strengthen. People who are grabbed and taken away by the red shoes always initially feel that whatever substance it is that they are addicted to is a savior in one sense or another. Sometimes it gives a sense of fantastic power, or a false sense that they have enough energy to stay awake all night, create until dawn, go without eating. Or perhaps it allows them to sleep without fearing demons, or calms their nerves, or helps them not care so deeply about all the things they so deeply care about. Or maybe it helps them not want to love and be loved anymore. However, in the end, it only creates, as we see in the tale, a blurred background whirling by so fast that no real life is truly being lived. Addiction is a deranged Baba Yaga that eats up lost children and drops them off at the executioner's door. So Baba Yaga is referencing another story in this book that we have not read together. Now, when I chose this little section, I didn't know it was going to be so pointedly discussing addiction, so I really wasn't expecting that turn, because in that way it is very much kind of a heavy topic and not as much of an escapism as I would like. But here we are. I will give you this video anyway, because I do love to read to you. I love to talk with you about what we have read and read your comments about it. So thank you so much for joining me on this wonderful video, and I will see you again in the future. Bye-bye.